Hi, my name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Innovation Showcase. The main purpose of this ongoing series is to inform viewers about exciting innovations and creative individuals across the fields of business, science, technology, education, and the arts. Today via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guests sculptors Dodson and Andy Moerlein. Known as the Myth Makers, Donna and Andy work as a collaborative team creating monumental public art installations with both natural and recycled repurposed materials. They're here today to inform us about their current installation entitled The Night Watchwoman that spans the Riverwalk Footbridge in Lowell. During the program, we're finding out why and how the Night Watchwoman came about. We'll go on a behind-the-scenes tour and in the process come to better understand and appreciate how Donna and Andy go about creating their very engaging and magnificent public artwork. Let's start by meeting Donna and Andy, the myth makers. Welcome. So delighted you're both able to be here.
Hi, Jay. Thank you for having us. We're thrilled.
It'll be a lot of fun.
I've enjoyed following your work over the years, and it was of high interest when I read about the current project, the Night Watchwoman in Lowell. Eager to hear more about it and have you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, I think it would also be of interest to briefly hear about both of your backgrounds, artistic, professional interests. Donna, would you please start?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jay. Yeah, so I've been a sculptor, for many years since I got out of college. I had a hand in a lot of different types of art, be it poetry or found object assemblage. I tend to come back to sculpture, so I'm most well known for my wood carvings of animal-headed sort of goddess figures or female warriors. And when I met Andy, I was making that type of work. Andy was making kind of these larger outdoor installations. So the Myth Makers began as kind of a mashup of his signature material of the saplings and these large environmental land gestures with my sort of forms of these animal-headed. And then, of course, it started with snow sculpture, it morphed into fire sculpture, and then, of course, public art. So it's had a lot of iterations as, all ephemeral, really, expressions of public art.
Nice, nice. Andy, a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, as Donna said, I'm a sculptor. I've always been fascinated by wood. Wood has always been kind of the base of where I start, but I've worked with a lot of different materials over my years. And when I met Donna, she lived in Jamaica Plain and I was living in New Hampshire. And we used to have these long car rides to spend time together. And we started making public art because it was just one of those things that as two sculptors, we each have our own studios, we have our own undertakings. And it just seemed like, we could apply for something. If we got it, we'd have such fun working together. And it's proven to be very, very consistently joyful and delightful to work with Donna.
For just a moment, speaking of public art, there's been such a geometric increase, I would say, in the last 15, 20 years. Briefly, just some of your thoughts about the value and benefits of public art installation like your work.
Sure. Public art typically is funded through like Percent for Art, and so early on I had a friend of a mentor of mine kind of explained basically how public art is there's more opportunities for artists, and so it kind of piqued an interest that I sort of wound up coming back to later. Our niche has really been on the temporary, which a lot of municipalities, museums, etc. want public art, but a permanent piece can be millions of dollars. It can be a really onerous community process. So a lot of people have jumped in kind of to the temporary. Something comes in and it goes away, right? So it can't be too controversial over a 6-month period, right? You can always appease people by saying, it's leaving, don't get too upset. And of course, the cost is a lot lower. because you're not talking about constructing something that really is almost like a building, has to withstand rigorous engineering standards. And so more recently, we've even pivoted to botanic gardens and arboretum, because we work with natural materials. There's sort of a conversation in the garden about our materials and how anything can be art. And so, that's really important to us. Working in the public sphere, there's always something to say, right? And so, we find that we haven't exhausted all our ideas or what we want to say yet.
Oh, hardly. Andy, how did your collaboration with the city of Lowell come about?
Oh, they had an art call and we both actually bumped into it, and we were, it's nice to do places close. We do a lot of travel for our work. We've had pieces in Switzerland, Alaska, and Taiwan, as well as many of the states, both this side and the other side of the Mississippi. And so it's been a busy world, and it's just great when we get a chance to show something that our family can drive to, and we can have fans around while we're having an opening. It's not just fans of the institution that's brought us there. So when they had the call, we immediately went out and said, oh my gosh, look at that bridge, the footbridge that Lowell has put across from one side of the mill to the other is spectacular. We were so in love with it. The minute we saw it, we go to the Lowell Repertory Theater on a regular basis with some dear friends of ours, and we couldn't resist the opportunity to do something on that bridge. So
is that how you get the inspiration for your projects? Just going to the area, the environment, and getting inspired in some way, and then pursuing the research, the history, and making these wonderful connections with your artwork to the overall environs?
Yeah, the visit's very important, because I think obviously sculptures make objects, but they're also really thinking about space and scale. And so kind of being on the bridge and thinking about kind of what is the view, how do people walk, not just under the sculpture, let's say, but how are they going to be looking at it, is super important as sculptors. You're thinking about that kind of, what's the experience of the sculpture? Are they walking under it? Are they walking through it? Are they ducking to get in? Like, it's just for a kid, or is it big enough for an adult to come in? Is it even like wheelchair accessible? And this one was really exciting because, and it seems obvious, but we've spent our career making birds, but we've never made one fly. And so to really launch a sculpture into the air was just an incredible challenge that we gave ourselves. And so we had to figure out a number of challenges. One is that this one faces another bridge, and so we thought we would kind of square the sculpture up on the center of the bridge, but basically it was flying into the building next to it. It wasn't flying back over to the viewpoint, so we had to really adjust everything to make that work. So even though we did extensive research and site visit, there's always things that, once you get on site with everything, there's going to be more problem solving, before you get done. That's a given.
What's the process like between maybe coming up with an idea, some inspiration, and then taking it through fruition and coming up with a final project? Like the Night Watchwoman, what is that all about, and how did it come about, and the connection to Lowell and its history?
Well, how can you avoid talking about the mills if you're in Lowell? It's like, I spent a lot of time in Manchester, New Hampshire, and it's another mill town on the Merrimack. And so I know about these mills. I walked through some of them before they were being rehabbed, and it was kind of amazing to come back 10 years, 15 years later and realize that these buildings have been gloriously saved. They're a treasure. And so, I was thinking, and Lowell really wanted some historic connection to their mill. That's the walk that goes along the mill. And I came upon, the young mill girls that were brought from all over the world to mostly Ireland and England, but other places as well. And that they were brought there to work and raise money to send home to their families. And these young women, of course, probably never went home. And they lived in this mill as 12 to 18-year-old young women. And so they had to be watched over by another woman. And often these were the matrons, and they were young people too, often in their 20s. And they also had responsibility for the mills. They had to watch the mills all night long, and these young ladies, and make sure that they stayed in their homes. And so I came upon a diary that was written, and it was just the most delightful little entry about, the owls, which were considered lucky and were very important to catching mice and rats in the buildings. And the barn owl flying out to seek mice for its young, like one of the girls in a dream in her slit flying away. And it was like, who writes this at 2 a.m? All is well. But it was fun. So we made it the Night Watchwoman.
And then coming up with that idea, do you do numerous sketches, reiterations? How is the process after that focus that you have going forward?
So we basically, do drawings. We would print photographs of the bridge and try and draw and look at the, owls. What does a snowy owl actually look like? And kind of bring those two things together. What's the composition of the owl? We thought about, having an owl that like kind of stood on the bridge, more like this kind of composition, that was one idea. And it seemed like by the time we built that, we're talking maybe 30 feet tall. It just seemed like it was unwieldy to consider that at the end of the day, even though we loved it. And so we kind of landed on this idea of, the flying owl. So we're kind of trying to, imagine the scale and everything, what it's going to look like. And so once we had this, we kind of arrived on site with, all the materials basically. And pretty much, had to figure it out yet again. There were like more challenges. We knew just the scale was going to be a challenge because it's like 10 or 12 feet wide. So trying to figure out an arch that could get the owl up there, hold some weight, but also be flexible and strong was interesting, And then of course we planned a few extra details since people do walk there at night. It's a theater, it's a performing arts, it's got restaurants. We wanted to try the LED solar lights for the eyes that light up. And so, so it has like a day, kind of a day vision, a night vision. It really has a lot of views, whether you're kind of under it, people have told us they feel kind of enveloped in this protective, wings. If you're kind of looking at it across, you're thinking like, what is that? And it's compelling. And so, the body, you can see we built and foisted it up there. And then the wings, the same, we built them and foisted them up and then, pretty much tied that all together. So there were basically 3 components.
What are the different type of materials that you used?
Well, when I started working, when Donna and I met, I was working in the landscape with maple saplings. And they're wonderful, thin, but long and strong, and you can collect large numbers of them in New Hampshire. And I built many large sculptures like that, and we started using that material. And then we got an invitation to go to Taiwan. And there were no saplings, there was bamboo. And we immediately learned, 2 or 3 good techniques. And since then, we've known many people that work with bamboo. We've studied with the American Bamboo Society, as well as the World Bamboo Workshop in Vietnam, where we went this past fall. And we worked with some marvelous architects and designers, just, as friends and figuring out what they do, and they figure out what we do. They think it's awfully interesting and odd. But so we use split bamboo that is harvested in southern states because that tends to grow better bamboo than what we can grow in New England. And we found that to be a pretty useful material. It's very light, it's very strong, and it allows us an adaptability and a flexibility that's quite exciting.
What were some of the challenges with both the construction and the eventual installation?
Some of the challenges were obviously just a compressed, like week-long installation. So there's with a big kind of public thing right at the end. So there's no, backing out or hitting like a hurdle. Luckily, we had nice weather, but we're also on a bridge, but the bridge is also another 20 or 30 feet, above the Concord River that goes into the Merrimack. So there's a certain just kind of height and everything else. We're very comfortable working on scaffolding and ladders, but there's an extra kind of challenge, obviously, if you're, that high in the air. And then doing something we hadn't done before, really trying to figure out how to do what we had built models for. And one thing we've really learned working at this scale, because when you're building, you're sort of like a little ant, in the anthill, like you can't see the anthill, and so we've really learned to stop at many points and take a look. How's this going? Is this, going off, in some random direction, or is it looking like how in my head I'm thinking that, and so that's been so that's how we figured out some of the early mistakes we were making. And then at the end, we realized one wing wound up to be like 5 feet longer, so we still had to go and build out the other wing. So there's always the looking at it is super important, that you just at the scale, this is probably 60 feet long and 10 or 12 feet wide. That scale you can't really appreciate. You can see with the drone, like how lovely that is. You don't get that view when you're actually working on it, that whole view of everything. And so that's a challenge, obviously.
And how about any surprises along the way from what you initially thought the development would be, and any twists and turns adaptations you had to make along the way?
Well, it was interesting. I was a little bit determined to break some of our mold, and we do that a lot. And I thought, the yellow bamboo that we usually use is very beautiful, but I wanted to see if we couldn't have it be a little bit lighter to really represent the barn owl. When they fly, they look almost white, and most of us are used to seeing them, that flash that you see out in the field or by accident when you're driving on the road and it takes up off the ground. So we ended up painting these pieces of bamboo, and as we put them together, it changes and transforms the piece a lot. As do the dichroic little pieces of flash that we attach to the piece, just to pick it up and give it this sense of magic that the little Night Watchwoman's diary made sense of or implied.
Nice. It strikes me that your work is really two folds of two different processes. One is coming up with the artwork, creating that, but then hearing you speak, all the problem solving you have to do on site. I think that takes a special mindset to be able to adapt like that. Has that developed over time in your collaboration and public art?
I think so. I think, we're always learning. We're always trying new things. We're always in new locations. So we kind of have a familiar sense of working. This type of residency and local project is exciting because it allows us to really take risks and try something we haven't tried before. When we're not, on a huge project, in another country or, thousands of miles away, it's nice to take smaller projects that, allow us to do new things. And the problem solving on site, I think that, we're not architects. It's not like we draw something and then hire someone to build it. Like we are the designer, we are the builder. For a lot of people, that doesn't make any sense. You know, they think like somebody designs it and then you hand it off to a fabricator and that person makes it exactly to your specifications and everybody knows exactly what's going to get made before it gets made. And as artists, that's not very an interesting process. Then it just feels like you're doing labor. You're not really creating. And really the spontaneity of being in the moment and really actually creating something is the real, you know, gold part of being an artist. I mean, that's what artists do best, really, is they're in the moment, you know, the juices are flowing, they're feeling, you know, the scale, the everything. And that really is the process that we strive for, you know, and some processes maybe are a little bit more like buttoned up, you know, type thing, but some processes really it's in those, I think, moments when you are just freely creating that you make your best work. And so that's the process that we're always striving for.
Fabulous. What's been some of the reaction and feedback to the Night Watchman?
You know, the magic that we try for is the wow. You know, you don't want people to come there, and I think that that's the beauty of public art, you know, is that you can do things that take people out of their walk, out of their daily routine, out of their bike ride, and make them just suddenly pause and change their world, even if it's just for a moment. And I think that's what we've heard from Lowell. You know, they just over and over again, the Facebook and Instagram posts are just so abundant. We have friends go, oh, my friend was there and I just couldn't help dropping that I know the artists. And that's really that's the joy of public art. We've gotten so used to working in the public and having people come by day after day. Sometimes the same dog walker who always comes by uses that little corner over there. And then you know, just the odd and occasional. We get love notes from people, you know.
Well, I definitely look forward to visiting soon and telling anyone I see there that, hey, I know the creators of this. We're fortunate to have 2 short video clips just showing some people experiencing the Night Watchwoman. So we're going to roll those and feel free to add any commentary if you wish.
Sure, this was during the opening reception, so it was a cloudy day, as you can see. It's in a cloudy day, you can really see the sticks really show up against the sky. Whereas like on a sunny day, what you really notice are the shadow patterns on the bridge. So it changes, you know, with the weather. And you know, on opening day, it was just really exciting. The bridge had been closed to foot traffic a week while we were working, and so it was open and people who had been curious, you know, could walk through, and that was just really exciting.
Nice, nice. And then you mentioned the LED lights, and here we have a shot at night to enjoy this aspect.
Yeah, that was really fun. You know, we've been working with these solar batteries, and so we didn't have to have electricity. We didn't have to deal with having an electrician come and approve everything. And we've just enjoyed that little aspect of the owl.
Fabulous. About how long will the Night Watchwoman be on location?
I think right now it's just a summer and fall installation, although the mayor was at the opening and he asked, you know, if they can keep it. So we'll see. They might, you know, may be able to extend the loan. It obviously won't last forever, but it will last longer than, you know, 6 months.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations again on this accomplishment. In the few minutes we have left, we're going to bring up some images of other projects you've worked on throughout the country. This one, I believe you mentioned Alaska, and I think this is the Alaska Botanical Garden.
Yes.
Yeah, this is my hometown, and this is the Alaska Botanical Garden is a place dear to my mother's heart, and of course my dad and and friends go bird watching there as well. So it's a very exceptional little garden. And we were treated like kings and queens. We were so, honored by this. They send us great pictures every year of it in snow with lights on it at the holiday season, and special walks and talks. They just use it. And if you see, there's little paths that go through each one, so children run off the trail and can run through the path and then back to the trail again.
Oh, fabulous. And now we're skipping across the country to Wisconsin, I believe, and the dance.
Yes, that was at the Lee Yawkey Woodson Art Museum. They have a small sculpture park and a national show called Birds in Art. And so this is right up their alley. This also had an area you can walk through, and it's really celebrating the seasonal migration of the sandhill cranes in northern Wisconsin.
Wonderful.
At over 30 feet, it's one of the tallest ones we've ever done.
Mm. And then more local at the Discovery Center in Acton, this fabulous installation. A couple of words, please.
Now, this one's actually in Camden, New Jersey. The next one will be the one that's at the Discovery.
The Phoenix Festival, yes.
Yeah. This is the Phoenix Festival, and this is a piece that we did for the Bloomberg City Challenge, which was taking art projects, or several, to a city and try to address some sort of social issue. Ours was this illegal dumping that they have along these abandoned areas. And this is an old incinerator. So we thought that the Phoenix was an appropriate design idea.
Very clever. And then back close by in Acton.
Yes, this is called Owl Hollow. And so this is a children's science and discovery museum. So this is an part of their outdoor exhibits. And basically it abuts a really interesting piece of conservation land where every year local birders mark the nest of a barred owl. And so we wanted to kind of make this bridge between the museum and then, of course, the conservation and the bird life. And then a lot of the doors and windows are really very small because it's a kids museum. The big sculpture is, I would say, adult size. The other two are not really adult size, but you can kind of crawl through uncomfortably. But we had a lot of fun making it, and then celebrating with the families.
Oh no, the Discovery Center does fabulous programming throughout the year for sure. What are some of your current or upcoming projects that you're working on?
I guess the next one is we're going to go to the McKee.
Yep.
The McKee Gardens in Vero Beach, California, Florida. And so that'll be a really big installation, actually. I think we've got 12, 11 pieces going in there. So a little bit different. It'll involve truckers, and we'll be working out of a warehouse in New Jersey to build those pieces. And we're pretty excited. It's a major wintertime job to be in Florida.
Fabulous. Well, look forward to reading about that sometime soon. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. I want to thank you both for taking the time to be here. Congratulations on the incredible work that you continue to do. As I mentioned earlier, I look forward to being in Lowell soon to enjoy the Night Watchwoman and encourage viewers and others to do the same. In the credits, we'll have contact information for the myth makers. And again, thanks for your time today and all the best with future endeavors.
Thank you, Jay. We really enjoyed our conversation with you.
It's been fun. Thanks.
Also want to thank those of you for watching and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.